11 days until Husker football kicks off against Minnesota. So in this video, I'm going to go over my predictions for the Blackshirts, my predictions for captains, if we're even going to do captains, along with a bunch of miscellaneous notes that Matt Rhule said about practice and a couple guys who my stock is going up on and guys that I've been pretty disappointed with so far in fall camp. So it's going to be a fun episode, a lot of good stuff in it. But before we get to it, please hit the like button on the video, but subscribe if you don't want to miss anything out during Nebraska football season. We got pregame, postgame, live streams right after the Minnesota game on Thursday and in 2 Thursdays. I'll be going live on YouTube right here on this channel like 2 minutes after the game's over. You don't want to miss that live stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to chop it up about the game, if we won, if we lost, all that, and go in detail. It's going to be a good time. But yeah, so let's just get into it with my black shirt predictions. So I think Matt Rhule has kind of been leaning toward kind of a rolling out black shirt system, kind of like we saw at the end of the Frost era, where about 10 or so guys got it, but they were rolling out during the year. I think even less guys are going to have it this year. I think Ty Robinson's going to be a guy who will have it immediately. Luke Reimer, Nick Henrich, John Bullock, those are the guys who are single digit. I mean, not Ty Robinson isn't single digit, but I think he'll get a black shirt right away. I think Quinn Newsome will get one. I think, last but not least, there's going to be about one more that gets in. I think it'll probably be Marquez Buford. Even though he's still hurt, I think they'll start him off with a black shirt, just from what he has been from a leader standpoint on this team. I think I really like this rolling out system, though. If a guy doesn't deserve it, didn't play well enough in fall camp, he shouldn't get it right off the bat. I don't think Nash should get it. I know he got a single digit, number 0, but it's kind of, I don't really feel great about giving the black shirt to a guy who hasn't produced in his career yet. And I feel the same way about John Bullock. I think they're going to give it to John Bullock the way they're talking about him. But I think if there's a guy like Nash, a guy like John Bullock, who hasn't played at all really in his career, I mean, Nash has. Don't get me wrong. Nash has played in his career, but not, substantially. I think he really has to prove it within those first 2 weeks of getting solid playing time, then you can get his black shirt. Because I think it's not really a great indictment on the brotherhood that black shirt means when you're giving it to guys who are just playing well in practice, right? You got to see it on the game field, and I think guys like John Bullock and Nash should get it after the couple weeks go by. And that's the same, I think, with Malcolm Hartzog. I'm not very high on Malcolm Hartzog. A lot of people are. I think Malcolm Hartzog is a guy who should get his black shirt if he performs well in the first couple weeks. Same thing goes with Deshaun Singleton. Same thing goes with Omar Brown. I really hope, and I'm pretty confident Matt Rhule is going to do that, where he's given it to guys who produced before, but he's going to wait and see with guys who are playing really well in fall practice and they deserve the black shirt, but he has to see it on the field. But yeah, no matter what, I think it'll be a rolling out system. So, black shirts are not final in preseason. They're going to be rolling out throughout the year. But it will be interesting to see how many he starts off with. I hope it's low, but we will see. Going on to captains, so Matt Rhule talked to the media yesterday, and he basically said that there's not going to be captains in a traditional sense. There's going to be game captains. I think the way he's going about this is that his single-digit players are his captains, right? That's his way of saying, hey, this guy is one of the leaders on the team. He deserves a single digit. I still think there's going to be kind of that 4 or 5 game captains that you see that solidify themselves from the rest of the pack, and that's going to be number 1, Jeff Sims, right? Jeff Sims will be a captain. He'll be a game captain. Number 2, Ethan Piper. Ethan Piper was unanimously voted for a single digit. He just couldn't wear it because he's an O-lineman. Then you got Luke Reimer. That's your 3rd captain. And then after that, you have a couple guys who could fight for it. Nick Henrich, of course. You also have Billy Kemp up there, who's been a great leader in this wide receiver room. He was the leader that we thought Marcus Washington was going to be. Billy Kemp has really took a strong leadership role. And then another one that's, again, I think Marquez Buford is a really, really big sleeper. I love Marquez Buford. And then Quinn Newsome as well. I'm a big Quinn Newsome fan. I really want him to solidify his single digit, which he hasn't yet. That's the only single digits left in store are number 6, number 8, and number 9. And his number 6 is right there for the taking. I hope he solidifies that because he deserves it, man. He really does. And I know he's not the great leadership player that you're looking for. But when it comes to producing on the field, like, I feel fairly confident that he's going to produce more than Nash Hutmutcher, right? Excuse me, I always butcher his name. Or John Bullock even. Like, Quinn Newsome is that guy. And I know that kind of is contradictory to what Matt Rhule is doing in the culture issue. First off, Quinn Newsome is not a culture problem. I just want to, establish that. He's not like a toxic player. He's just kind of not a leader in the sense that Matt Rhule wants him to be. Not to say he's not going to be a leader, but obviously that the reason he doesn't have a single digit is because Matt Rhule's kind of saying, hey, you got to take hold of that DB room. You're the oldest guy there. You've started for the last couple of years. You got to show me that leadership ability, and then you're going to get your single digit. So, but that's a guy who I think is going to be a sleeper to get a captain position. Again, we'll see how he ends up doing it. I think there's going to be captains when it's all said and done. I mean, he's going to basically have the same game captains every week. And those guys are going to solidify themselves from the pack. So, my prediction, Jeff Sims, Ethan Piper, Luke Reimer, and then I'm going to go... I'll go, you know what? I'm going to go Ty Robinson. I'm going to go Ty Robinson as the other guy. I think Ty Robinson's going to be the other dude. So, yeah, that's those are my four for captain. Let's go to the guys that I'm, I'd say my stock's going up on. So these are the dudes that I've been loving what they've been doing at fall camp. I wasn't necessarily low on them before going to fall camp, but they're opening my eyes even more. So first guy's Thomas Fidone. He's playing well. Everything you hear about him, he's playing great. There's a couple clips in him of him in those Nebraska recap videos they're posting on the YouTube channel, which I love. Make a couple touchdown grabs. Yeah, he's playing good. He's playing really well in fall ball. But same thing goes with him in the defense. Like, I need to see him produce before I'm gonna, present him lofty expectations. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I think Fidone's gonna have 600 yards for us. No, I'm not gonna be that guy because he doesn't have a catch in the history of Nebraska football. Him playing here, he has 0 catches. So I'm not gonna sit here and just present him a lofty expectation for a guy who hasn't touched the field due to injuries, of course. And injuries do play a part in playing on the field after them. So we'll see if he's banged up again because of his knees just being kind of a liability in the first 2 years of his career. Second guy my stock's up on is Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda. They had a segment on him on their YouTube channel. This is a dude who's been, in that leadership conversation on the wide receiver room. Soft-spoken guy. We knew that last year, but he lets his game do the talking. We saw it on Northwestern. We know he can play. The one thing I was concerned about him was just if his head would be back in it. The reason he entered the transfer portal was still a mystery. He wasn't happy with Frost, but then he entered the portal once Frost got fired. It just didn't make any sense to me. So I was kind of worried if his head was going to be completely in it with Matt Rhule, and it looks like he is, so he's playing really good ball. Number 3 on my stock up, the guys who I think are playing really well, and this should be no surprise if you listen to my channel at all this summer, it's Rahmir Johnson. Love Rahmir Johnson. I mean, I'm on record. Every time I talk about Rahmir Johnson, I'm on record for saying this dude is the most underutilized running back in the last 10 years of Nebraska football. This is the best pass pro running back we've seen on Nebraska football in a long time. So much so that they made him a position in the last year of the Frost era where they called him the wide back. Even though they didn't play him, they called him the wide back just because he's that good of a pass catcher and that good of a pass blocker. This dude is playing at an absurd level in fall ball. Matt Rhule said today that he is going to be that third down back, which I've wanted. We'll get to that in a bit, talking about that running back rotation. He made a play that about everybody saw on those Nebraska YouTube videos where he just trucked 2 guys and stayed up. I mean, he's playing some great ball. And the last guy my stock up is Isaac Gifford. So Isaac Gifford is an interesting case. A guy who got a lot of snaps last year, but really under the radar, like didn't really make a bunch of plays. But one of the first guys to get that single digit, a leader in that locker room. I need him to have a big year. On defense, sometimes it's better if you don't notice they're on the field, especially like a defensive back. Like if you don't notice they're on the field, it's probably because they're locking stuff up. But Isaac Gifford, historically really hasn't made those big plays hasn't been on the field enough to really get that opportunity. So hopefully he makes some big progress this year. And I should have mentioned, I think Isaac Gifford will get a black shirt. I always forget about him being kind of that nickel position. He doesn't really, he's not really a linebacker, not really a defensive back, so I always forget about him. But yeah, he will get a single digit to start the year. And those are my 4 guys that my stock was up on. Let's get to the guys that my stock is down on. So dudes that, going into fall ball, I had expectations for, and they've really kind of let me down. First one's Marcus Washington. I mean, this one is not really a surprise. We've heard the leadership issues throughout fall camp. Matt Rhule's been talking about his pressers, like this dude is hurt. He's been hurt again. First it was broken hand, then he got banged up. Obviously he doesn't insert himself in that wide receiver room as a leader. He kind of jokes around, kind of like a JD Spielman type figure. I was hoping that Marcus Washington would make that leap and get a single digit again. I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll see on him. I think he's super talented. I thought Marcus Washington was one of the most underrated players on our roster the entire 2022 season. I mean, this is a guy who outplayed Trey Palmer in a lot of the games last year. Like Trey Palmer, once he started playing really well, defenses started paying attention to him. Like he was getting 0 catches. 0 catches, and Marcus Washington would always be open, make some good plays. So that's a guy that I'm really down on. The second guy is a dude that everybody loves, and that's Teddy Prohaska. I'm at that point with Teddy Prohaska where I'm doubting if he's ever going to be a good tackle for us, in the sense, is he ever going to be available? Okay, he's 6'10". There is only one player in the NFL that at the O-line position that is 6'10" or taller, and he's a practice squad type of player, okay? There is only one. And if you look through the history of guys who are 6'10", 6'11", even 7 foot, injuries headline their career. They're almost never successful. And we've been seeing this with Teddy Prohaska. He obviously had that season-ending injury in his true freshman year against Michigan. Then he was banged up all of last year, really, and he can't find the field in fall camp. I'm at the point where I don't think he's really ever gonna be healthy. It does have an issue with his height. Like we see this all the time with guys who are as tall as he is. They're clumsy. They don't have great core strength, and then of course, their lower body gets banged up, and they're always out. Hence why he's out right now. He's been out all of fall camp. And don't get me wrong, Matt Rhule, keeps saying, "Oh, he'll be back by Minnesota," but with guys like him, their rehab takes longer. So that's a dude that I'm really down on. It's Teddy Prohaska. I don't want to play this game with him. I don't want to play this game with him being injured all the time. And at this point, it's going to impact his play. If he's out all the time, yeah, it's going to impact his play on the field. So really, really down on Teddy Prohaska. It leads to an entire conversation about his height and how that's going to translate to his injury problem. But that's kind of a story for another day. Third guy I'm down on, and we already talked about, is Quinn Newsome. Like, I need him to be a leader in that locker room. I need him to insert himself. And the fourth thing I put down here for the guys I'm stocked down on are the entire safety room. Obviously, with Buford being hurt and then Miles Farmer no longer being on the team, he's now at Syracuse. I was hoping that we get a guy like Deshaun Singleton. We get a guy like Omar Brown who'd really pop out and make a name for himself and be the unquestioned starter at the safety spot going into the year. We haven't heard anything about that. Matt Rhule kind of just hasn't talked about him at all in his press conferences. At this point, I'm just thinking none of them are ball players. None of them are guys who we really can trust to be that safety. It's going to be kind of a safety by committee thing. We're going to see a lot of rotation there between Omar Brown, maybe Malcolm Hartsock. I think they're going to move up to safety. Deshaun Singleton, Javier Morton, maybe even Corey Collier is going to get in the mix there. So that'll be interesting to see. But I'm really down in the safety room because not only with the injuries, but just the lack of attention that Matt Rhule's been bringing to him. So those are all the guys I'm stocked up and stocked down on. Let's get to some of the notes about Matt Rhule. We talked to the media yesterday, and the first one that was kind of the headliner was the running back rotation. And this is where I pat myself on the back. This is where I pat myself on the back. So I was talking about this right when fall camp started, and I was saying what I thought was going to happen with the running back rotation. And I said, Irving is your unquestioned starter. He is your unquestioned starter. There's a reason why Matt Rhule is hyping up. Ramirez is going to be your third down running back, and then Anthony Grant's kind of going to come in every now and then. But I'm telling you, the staff is not high on him. And we heard the exact same thing from Rhule yesterday. He basically said, yeah, Irvin's our guy. Ramirez is going to be our third down running back. He's going to be our guy when it comes to pass pro. And then Anthony Grant's been struggling, being a leader. He's been struggling in practice. He's had a fumble issue. And, he's got to really take care of that before he hits the field. So I hit the nail in the coffin. There's a lot of issues with Anthony Grant. There's a lot of issues. We talked about it right at the start of fall camp that he got suspended. He's had suspension issues. He hasn't went to practice all the time. He has missed out on team events. He's really just kind of struggled to adjust to this Rhule culture. And a lot of times you see that from older players, right? When you're a younger player, you just do what you're told. You do what you're told because you don't know any better. But when you're an older player and you've been through multiple regimes like he has, him being at Georgia Tech, him being in JUCO, him being with Scott Frost, when you get to your third or fourth coach, you're kind of like, rolling your eyes, right? You've been there, done that. You're 23 years old. So it's harder for those guys to adjust to the new culture. And we've seen that with Marcus Washington, with Miles Farmer, with some other guys. So, Anthony Grant's really got to figure that out. And again, my second thing is I am a lot lower on Anthony Grant than some other people. A lot of people kind of pencil Anthony Grant in as their starter this spring. And even, in July, in August, there's penciling in Anthony Grant. Oh, because he was a starter last year. Anthony Grant was not great at starter last year. Okay, he was not a great running back one. Do not get me wrong. He was awesome at the start of the year. But then once we started playing really good defenses, the Illinois of the world, the Iowas of the world, the Wisconsin of the world, he was awful. He was awful. And everything that we saw when he was playing against Northwestern and playing against Georgia Southern, all those flashes were gone. And we looked at a guy who was a shell of himself and was running horizontally. He was abysmal. He was abysmal at the end of the year. And I think he started off with like 600 yards in like 6 or 7 weeks. And then he ended with like 900 in the last 6 or something like that because he had a really, I'll go back. He started with 600 in the first like 5 or 6 weeks. And then he had 300 at the end of the year, in the last half of the year. So a dude who had a massive downgrade as the year went on and we played better defenses. And you can blame that on him being tired, him being injured. Everybody's banged up. It is what it is. The good running backs find a way to produce, and he did not. So I was not high on Anthony Grant, and I hit the nail on the head right here in that running back order. Second thing that Matt Rhule's been kind of talking about, and this has been the way all fall camp, is that the defense is outplaying the offense. This concerns me. This really concerns me because I am not high on this defense compared to some other people. I think there's a huge depth issue, specifically when you look at the D-line, specifically when you now look at that safety unit. I think there is a big depth issue. I think this offense is talented. Jeff Sims is they keep typing up Jeff Sims. You have a good running back rotation. Your wide receivers are, you don't have a good wide receiver room. I mean, blanket, like you really don't. The wide receiver room is I'd say bottom 10 in Power 5. I would go as far to say that. It's not a good wide receiver room at this point in time, especially with Betts leaving the team and all the the true freshmen that are going to be needed to produce. Tight end room is all right and the O-line's bad, but the fact that every time that Matt Rhule talks to the media and it says, yeah, defense won the day, that concerns me. That really concerns me. So we'll see what happens there. And again, they keep hyping up Jeff Sims. Matt Rhule said he's taking care of the ball despite people saying he has a turnover issue, which he does. Like, do not get me wrong. Another guy that I am firmly in the show me and then I'll believe category. Show me that you're not going to turn the ball over on a regular basis like you did at Georgia Tech, and then I'll believe. Because at some point, Matt Rhule exemplifies it. It's just coach talk. That's why when I listen to these coach pressers, you always take it with a grain of salt because they're hyping up their guys sometimes, and like that's what you need to do. You're not going to sit there and say, yeah, Yeah, Jeff Sims had a bad practice day. Our quarterback one had a bad practice. He was off on his reads, threw a bunch of picks. Like, how many times have you heard that from a coach? Not much. And you can't say that. You can't say that as a coach. So, yeah, there is coach talk. You got to hype up your guys, and that's kind of what he's doing with Jeff Sims. I'm not super high on Jeff Sims. I think he's going to be all right for us, but I think the turnover issue will stay the same. Going over some of the last of my notes. So backup quarterback is still in the air between Chuba Purdy and Heinrich Haarberg. It's going to be Chuba Purdy. Don't even think about it. It'll be Chuba Purdy. He will be our quarterback 2. He said that Purdy has been throwing the ball more, and then Haarberg has been, kind of better in the dual threat action. I think Haarberg honestly fits the offense better, but I'm not high on Haarberg. I think he still has the same issues that he did last year. The reason he was on the scout team last year, has trouble grasping the playbook, has trouble just kind of being that X's and O's type of quarterback to make the right read. I think Chuba Purdy is going to be a lot better than he was last year. He was horrendous last year. Another guy that Matt Rhule talked about was Phelan Sanford, who is in his last year here. He's a walk-on. He's played honestly a lot of snaps in his career here as a walk-on. He said that he's going to now be on scholarship. I think that's fine. You have a couple open scholarships due to Betts leaving, due to Miles Farmer leaving. So definitely the right decision there to put him on scholarship. Talking about Emmett Johnson being a versatile all-around back, going to be in the mix for kick returner. Love to hear that. Emmett Johnson's a really talented kid. Was the best running back in the state of Minnesota his senior year of high school. So definitely be hearing a lot of good things about him in fall camp. It'll be interesting to see how much he touches the field this year. Definitely a guy you're going to see on special teams though. And yeah, that was really about it. He said that the kicking game was not great over the whole week. That is not what you want to hear, especially with 2 kickers that you think are going to be, playing at a good level, with that being Timmy Bleekrode and Tristan Alvano. I want Tristan Alvano to be that guy week 1. I want him to be our starting kicker, but not with, the way he's been playing so far, according to Rhule, but it's not like Bleekrode's been any better. So we'll see who wins that kicker battle. I do think it'll be Timmy Bleekrode because he has that experience. He is a senior. So that's kind of it from the Matt Rhule notes. So just kind of capping it off. Captains, I think it'll be Jeff Sims. I think it'll be Ethan Piper. I think it'll be Luke Reimer. And then I'm going to go Ty Robinson as my 4th. Even though Matt Rhule is saying, we're not going to do captains in traditional sense, they're still going to be kind of captains. So, yeah, Blackshirts, they're going to be rolling out over time. I think the first guys to get them are going to be Ty Robinson. Unfortunately, I do think Nash will get one. Going back on what I said, I think Nash will get one, even though I think he should earn it on the field. Luke Reimer, Nick Henrich, Quinn Newsome, John Bullock, Marcus Buford, and Isaac Gifford are going to be your guys who are going to get it before the game. And then you can see some guys like Malcolm Hartzog, like Tommy Hill, maybe even a Cameron Lenhard, who has been a leader in that D-line unit as a true freshman, could get it. So definitely watch out for that. And then the last thing I kind of want to talk about is the single digits. Who do I think is going to get the last 3? So 6, 8, and 9 are left. The guys who have it so far is Jeff Sims, Billy Kemp, the 3 linebackers, that being John Bullock, Luke Reimer, and Nick Henrich. And then the last one is Nash. I'm not sure. So that leaves, or no, there's one more that I'm forgetting. What is the last one I'm forgetting right now? Hold on. I think I named 6 or 7 right there. So, Isaac Gifford, of course. I always forget about Isaac Gifford. So those are your 7 single digits as of right now. You got 6, 8, and 9 left. I think Quinn Newsome is gonna lock up his 6 back. I think as far as 8 goes, would not be surprised if they give that to Gabe Ervin. They rave about him. I think he'll end up getting it. And then as for number 9, probably will go on the defensive side of the ball. Would not be surprised if they give it to Ty Robinson. I don't know what's up with Ty Robinson. Maybe he wants to stay with his 99. Another guy I guess you could see get that might even be a Thomas Fidone. There's not a whole lot of options. Maybe actually Isaiah Garcia Castaneda probably will get that 9. So that's my predictions. Who ends off with single digits? 6 being Quinn Newsome, 8 being Gabe Ervin, and then 9 being Isaiah Garcia Castaneda. He had single digits last year as number 2. So yeah, that's my single digit prediction. That's basically everything. I just went over a bunch of stuff. If you like the content, want to add something, disagree with me, agree with me, let me know in the comment section below. But as always, hit the subscribe button. The content's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. I'm just getting started. Right now we're kind of in the dog days of fall camp. You're about 10 days out. Not a lot of news is coming out. So not really a lot of content. I just kind of put a bunch of miscellaneous stuff together. But once the season starts, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of content coming for you. You don't want to miss out on it. You do not want to miss out on the live stream. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button. It also really helps me out. But let's get out of here. Hope you guys have a great Sunday or Monday or whenever you're watching this. And as always, go Matt Rhule, go Big Red, and see you in the next one.